Pretty cool how paint makes everything look so much better. It's still wet, so it might not be as shiny when it dries. But this is just Rust-Oleum gloss black. I got some clear coat that I'm going to try to put on it too. That's the steering column. That's the rest of the suspension. The vent for the dash. So, and I might still just paint it again with something else, but it looks a lot better like this, that's for sure. And I think Rust-Oleum's pretty good paint, especially the primer. So I'll let this stuff dry and cure. I still gotta sand the doors and the dash and spray paint the dash. I haven't done that yet. Alright, I got the cowl welded in. And primered over a little bit on the spot welds. And I sanded that, but evidently I didn't sand it enough because that's doing that again. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know, maybe that's oil causing that. I sanded it. It was smooth. Now it's not smooth. I sand it again and maybe put some acetone on it. I don't know. I sanded all the way down to the primer. Okay, got the suspension back on. The alignment's way out, but we'll see what happens when I put the engine in. Looks pretty good if you ask me. So, I guess I can slap the engine in and work on the steering. Got the steering hooked up. There's a top link. Comes down. It's just 2 links and a straight bar. This needs to be moved, but that's pretty straightforward. I thought it'd be a little more difficult, but there's plenty of room. I know it looks like there's not room there, but yeah, there's room. Yep. So I use this epoxy to seal the back side of the fender, because the primer that comes on it doesn't really do that good, I've learned. So that ought to keep it from rusting. Alright, I cut that out. From here to here is 4.5 on both sides. From here to there is 11.5. That's a little under, but I'm just going to do it 11.5. Since these two are the same, those two can be the same. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. And so I'm going to grind all that clean. And use this to, I'm gonna go from here up, and then I'll probably patch in right here like this. And then cut it, and then go like this with another piece, or like this, whatever. And then gusset it. And I'll do the same on that side. And I'll make it so that the motor comes in and sets against it on both, on the front and the back. It'll come in and set against it. Alright, I got the motor mounts done. Bolts are kind of small. That's what they came with, but I might make them bigger later. It's hard to see them, actually. So that's where the motor's going to be. It's almost level because the lift is level. The car sits down in the front a little bit, and when it gets weight on it, it'll probably sit down a little bit more when it gets the radiator and the turbos. So that's about 1/8 of an inch out of level. But I think it'll be probably pretty close to perfect once all the weight gets on the car. And I can, well, actually they're all the way down now. The springs are all the way down now, but I think it'll be all right. And I had to jack up the transmission, obviously, to get it level. And now it fits in the hoop better. So it's where it needs to be. That's a good stopping point for the day. Okay, so now from here to the floor is like 74 3/4. And from here to the floor is like 74 3/4. Or something like that. They're the same. So that means that it'll be a straight line, level. The shaft will be level, going straight across. But this angle is 89.6 degrees pointed down. And this one is 89.6 degrees pointed up. So if I'm figuring it right, and I don't know if I am, that means that they're almost exactly even as far as the angle of the shaft is. For the universal joint would be angled the opposite on each side. So the transmission is down, the rear end is up. These angles, even though the drawing doesn't portray it very well, should be exactly the same, and the shaft would be level. Two and a quarter there. It's 2 on the other side. It looks wide because this body is cut away. This should be here. So when that gets fixed, it'll look shorter. I don't know if 2 inches is too much though. If I leave it that way, I'm gonna have to cut even more out of this back part. and that's 2 inches instead of 2 1/4 from here to here, which seems like it should be acceptable. But this started touching again when I adjusted the pinion angle, so I could just leave it like it is and then carve more out and make it kind of fancy or something, you know, when I do the body work. That just looks like a massive gap though, but it's really not when you figure you're going to do the body work here. I cut this piece out so I can put the engine in and out easier, because a car like this, the engine is probably going to come out a lot. So I welded these on to this, and I'm going to drill a hole right there and right there. This is where the horns mount, in this bolt hole right here. So I'm going to put that on there and mark the holes and drill them so that I can put the bolts for the horns through here, and maybe even put the horns back on. And then that'll be that support that where I can mount this. So that's the only reason I need it, so I can latch the hood. If I wanted to use hood pins, I could probably just get rid of this whole bracket piece, because it really doesn't really provide much stability for anything else. This is the foxbody radiator. I put a piece of rubber here just to get it up off the frame, because it was sitting on the frame. That's how much wider it is. If I could get one just a little bit narrower, then I could drop it down 3 more inches. This is sticking up here, and it's probably sticking up a little too far. I'd have to put the hood on just to see, and I'd have to get a cap. And then these are also from a foxbody, and they would go like that. And then I'd have to make a bracket. I'd have to make a bracket there to hold it down. But it seems like if it clears, which I don't think it will, then the way I got it setting would work. But I think, well, see, I could cut this off, but that's not much higher than this. But there's areas in the hood, so you almost gotta fit it on there, because it looks like the stops are here, and if the radiator's back that far, there's room for it to be up a little bit. And it is, because that's where the latch hooks. So there's at least 3 or 4 inches there. So it's up in this indented area. So it might work. Well, the radiator's a 1/2 inch too high with the rubber spacers. It's down there sitting on the frame, metal to metal right now. And I don't know if I can maybe find a different way to brace it up and just get it just a fraction of an inch away from the frame, or I could do like I did in my race car in a notch and move this out a little in the bottom and tilt it back. Like that. So it'll probably be room, because this is going to get cut back and the turbo is going to turn back in here, so hopefully that radiator won't be a problem there. Anyway, one way or another I'm going to have to fix it because it's a 1/2 inch too high when it's got cushions. Okay, I got the uppers done, and this time I left room for threads to bring it down a little if I want, or in a little if I want, because these ones are, I probably need to cut the weld off one end and cut a 1/2 inch off of them because they're just kind of too close, but I'm gonna wait just in case it doesn't need to be done. Wait till it absolutely needs to be done, because I don't know, I don't think I'm coming out any, but that's 2 inches, and that's what my 14 Mustang is 2 inches right there. So, and that's roughed in, but that's a little less than 2 inches. So I could jack the car up and articulate it and see just how much problems this is going to cause, but I think last time I did that it was okay. Okay, so this is the Rhodes kit. This goes on the bottom of the rear end. That welds to the rear end and bolts to that. This bolts right here and slides. This attaches here. These go here. Have to notch them to fit. And this goes here. You have to notch it to fit. Right? Okay, that seems pretty simple, right? Those are the fittings for the end. And they have to pivot like this. But notice that's a 45, unless I at some point bend this straight, that's at a 45. So I go under here. Alright. Now, where am I going to mount it? Am I going to mount it here, which would require a pipe to be welded in the corner, but then when it comes out to here, it's going to be possibly creating a bind. So I can't have it there, and I've thought, well, maybe here. No, because I mean, yes, they're gonna go up and down together. So if I did put it in the corner here like this, it's gonna be, even if I brought it down low like that and pointed it this way, it would be pretty close. It's almost too short. So that's the problem. It's almost too short because it's, I need a tripod. Okay. So this is gonna attach here, right? And this, I guess the first thing I need to do is weld that bottom, tack that bottom piece on. And this is gonna weld here, but it's already too low on the, pipe. It's almost at the end of the pipe. Well, actually, there should be a couple couple inches longer, but that's too short. So I guess the first thing I need to do is tack weld that bottom piece on, and then I can have a good reference, a starting point. Okay, so far so good. Barely any clearance there. It's enough, I think. So next, just put these here and this one here. I left about 1.5 inches there of travel so it could go down a little more. I don't know how much. It probably isn't going to go down a whole lot further anyway, but yeah, it could go a couple inches down, but I think that'd probably be that much travel on that anyway. And then I gotta cut this junk off here that was holding it in place till I got this far. The only problem that I see with this now is I can't adjust my lower bars. I don't see why I would want to point my lower bars down, but I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to use these holes at all. I could still use these holes, and it's pointed slightly up at the moment. So I could adjust these up. But if I'm going to leave it like this, I don't even need these holes. There's really no dropping it down any further the way I've got it set up. So my adjustability just went away. I don't know if I want to keep it like this or not. Of course I could figure out a way to weld brackets here so these are adjustable. Because that's where it would need to be. And then I could just put a plate here and a plate here and put holes all the way down to, you know, here, right there. And that would make that completely adjustable. So I guess I'll leave it. I don't have the plates right now, but I don't have to weld this stuff in. It's only tacked in. I don't have to weld that in all the way. I could just leave it and get some plates. That's not perfectly symmetrical, and the gaps aren't perfect. So I'm not a professional, obviously. But I think it'll work. It's not too bad, really, for a guy that doesn't know what he's doing. This is my situation here. That nub with the screw in it, I need to shorten it about that much to get that to suck in, and then I gotta figure out how to get this fender to drop down, which some other videos, a guy cut here, and I think here, and then undid the spot welds and pushed it down. All right. That's not even the full droop, but these are like 12 inches. It's about 5 inches of droop. See, I don't see it getting further than that for any real good purpose. And I changed the wishbone because it was over here and I was afraid it was gonna bind. And so I did it like I saw everybody else doing it basically. I just heated it up here and bent it and moved these mounts from over here to over here. Now it's more of a traditional look, and it probably would have binded. I'm gonna be able to get some good solid welds all the way down here and all the way down here, so that ain't gonna go nowhere, and then all the way around. Re-weld these joints and then put a bar right here. So I'll probably get that buttoned up tonight. I'll go ahead and run this up and see what the wishbone looks like. So this only moves about an inch throughout the whole stroke of the axle. Looks like it still has an inch or two. I might be out of stroke on this. Yep, it's out of stroke. I think I could go further though. For the record, these are set at 13.5 inches long. And that's almost all the way up. I mean, it's gonna start rubbing and stuff soon. So let it down slow. That's a lot if you ask me. That's a lot of movement. Let's take a measurement. $18 3/4 approximately. This one's a little lower, so 19 if the, and it's down on the lift. It could go lower. But that would, you know, if that was ride height, that would be pretty high. So I think it's good. And the 13.5 on the ride height, that helps, I guess. I could pretty easily get it to 15 ride height. Maybe I should, just to see what it looks like. That's 15-inch ride height for the shocks, and it's still up in the fender by an inch or so. So 15 is probably good, and it gets down to 13. Well, it'd probably go down to 12 pretty easy, maybe even 11 without rubbing still. So I think I'm good to figure out what shocks I need. Okay, that's up as high as it can go. And it's kind of rubbing there, so it won't ever be set to go up that high, I suppose, but it's close. It's more rubbing right there, which could be fixed. Because it ain't rubbing there. That could be cut out. I think it's rubbing more on this side, actually. Can't see. Anyway, if I did some more trimming, it would go up. It would go up higher. I could get this thing all the way to the speaker boxes if I wanted to cut a bunch of stuff out. But it doesn't have that much stroke really left here, you know, so let's get a measurement. Okay, that's 11. So 11 to 19 is the stroke. 11 to 19 is the stroke, and 15 is the ride height. Okay, so that's what it looks like at 15-inch ride height. It's a couple inches inside the fender still. And that's what it looks like. It looks jacked up. Even, I mean, I could squat it down more to level out the rocker, because it looks jacked up like that, but I think it looks pretty cool. Okay, there it is. All painted and finished. I thought about putting an X right here, but I don't have the material for that. And I can always do that later. I adjusted these all the way in. Got about that much space left, and it's it really only uses about a 1/2 inch through maybe 3/4 of an inch of stroke. So I could make that a little bit longer so this isn't as exposed. It's about an inch inside of here. Kind of protects that grease zerk a little bit, I guess. Looks like plenty of room for the drive shaft, even though it doesn't look like that, but this needs to be cut off here and here and shortened up that much anyways, because it could legitimately be as low as this and still be okay, and as low as that and still be okay. So the plan is to eventually cut that out and shorten it, and I'm gonna put a 2x3 or whatever by across right here. Probably cut this out right here flush with this, and so I'll put that in there to stabilize it, and then this won't be as important to be structurally strong, and I'll be able to cut that, shorten it, and pretty much half-ass weld it back in, because it wouldn't be that detrimental for strength after I put in a cross member across here a couple inches above it. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video though. It's a pretty good stopping point. Like and subscribe.